Alright, well, namaste everyone. Really excited to be back with everyone and welcome to Hindi University. As you all know, we meet every Sunday 8 a.m. US Pacific time to learn about the Hindi language. We didn't have class last 3 weeks. We were taking a quick a winter break, and we're back to start a new class this year in 2022. So I really would like to welcome each of you in the new Hindi class. We have a lot of students who've been attending the class for a while. So we have students from at different levels. So we'll try to make sure that everybody can pick up the pace. Those of you who are completely new, you have a good foundation as we start working on the material. So you will still feel like you are kind of learning completely from ground up. Okay. So in this class, I'll be covering a lot of basic material, a lot of administrative stuff as well. And it will be more about your Hindi language journey, okay, rather than just like the core grammar that I cover. So this class is your opportunity to ask as many questions as possible. Don't feel shy, even if it is the most basic question. Even for the advanced students as well, like this class is the opportunity to share their experiences from what worked, what hasn't worked, which will be useful for a lot of folks who are just getting started. Okay, so with that in mind, let's get started. For those of you who are not familiar, you can learn more about Hindi University by going to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Hindi University. You will find several Hindi videos. It's more than 550 videos now, ranging at different levels. If you are completely beginner, you don't need to know anything, right? And you will still find you can watch the videos, and for the most part they are pretty easy going and self-paced. You can watch a video, immediately come up with some basic sentences, and engage with your colleagues. Okay. If you want to join the because we are starting the new class, if you want to join the interactive classes that we have every Sunday, you can find all the details on this page. And most of you probably found out the class through either the YouTube channel or this page, which is tiny.cc/Hindi University. So I'll take some time today to walk everyone through this page, so that way everybody has some sort of like a reconnect with this page, how to use the resources at Hindi University effectively. Okay. I'll also spend some time today talking about how to set Hindi learning goals. Since this is the first class, it's always useful to start with like the bigger picture for how do you want to structure your 2022 in terms of your Hindi learning. Like it's better to have like a concrete goal, because then it make your journey much easier. Okay, so we'll spend some time on setting the Hindi learning goals as well. We'll go over some of the resources that we'll be covering this year. In the last year, we covered a book called Teach Yourself Hindi. I'm okay now. That is the book written by Professor Rupert Snell. This year, we'll be covering 2 different books. So I'll be going over the resources as well. As some of you may not have the books, how do you obtain those? So we'll spend some time there as well. And some more concept like, how to, structure your journey. So you may have heard of this principle, compounding effect. So we'll take some examples of how you can use compounding effect for your Hindi language, journey. Okay. With that in mind, I hope you can all, none of you is having some audio or video issue. If you have any questions, I'm going to take quick pause to see anything else you would like me to cover. You will definitely have opportunity to ask questions, but let me take a quick pause to see if there are any immediate questions from any of you. We have a good group of 40 people today, so really excited to make sure that all of you are getting oriented with the first class. Okay, so if there are no questions, I'll start with the first thing first about how to use the Hindi language related resources that we have at Hindi University. Okay, so I'm assuming that let's say you have no idea about this program. How do I get started? The first thing you can do is you can go to the YouTube channel that we have and at least start browsing around and see if the method that is being covered. And I primarily cover two methods. One is the language immersion method, which is like, imagine yourself completely new to a language. You are forced to speak the language with, you're surrounded by, let's say, native Hindi speakers. How do you survive? That's the one method that I use. The other one is basically, break it down, which is basically you have a complex sentence which is completely deconstructed into smaller units. Okay, and each of the smaller units you learn through repetition. Okay, and so I cover a lot of those patterns as well, such as like, you'll see that in the book as well, such as main hoon, which is I am. Once you know one of the pattern, like how many sentences can frame just with this pattern? I am Ashu, I am Indian, I am a teacher, I am a cricket player. There are many things you can say in any language. Okay, once you know it in the pattern, the idea here is like you can repeat. Okay, so just like what I said in English, I can easily say मैं आशु हूँ, मैं एक टीचर हूँ, मैं एक traveler हूँ, मैं एक cricket player हूँ. So you get the point, right? So that's another method that is being followed in the class. Then in parallel to that, lately we started using some sort of a structure. Let's say we have a book, that is being consistently being followed, and you follow the complete curriculum that is provided with the books, and you practice it with the community that we have. And you'll notice we have a pretty strong community of Hindi learners, and they meet pretty regularly, more frequently than like our classes is every Sunday, but our community, they meet very frequently. And we have two dedicated WhatsApp group, one for the Hindi University, which is I use primarily to inform everyone about the weekly classes, but the other one is like to meet more frequently and to practice with your colleagues. So you will have access to that. I think there's one question from Vignesh. I'm going to quickly take a pause. Vignesh, yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
Sure. I know this is too early to ask, but just from your experience point of view, how long does it take for a non-Hindi speaker to learn Hindi on average, say, with 2 years of practice or whatever?
You have some background in Hindi, Vignesh, or you just getting started?
I understand bits and pieces of Hindi I learned in primary school, but I don't have enough Hindi knowledge.
Yeah, so my goal is, honestly speaking, like, to find a balance, like, easy sentences like this, you should be able to just do it right away. Like once you know the pattern, once you practice, once you hear me speak, once you hear your colleague speaks, right after that half an hour or 40 minutes of session, you should be able to form these sentences. The challenge comes when you start going through some of the complex sentences. That takes some time. Okay, and that's what I'll cover in the compounding effect as well. Like you may hear some buzzwords like learn Hindi in 10 days and 20 days. There's nothing like that. It doesn't work like that, right? So you just have to be patient, and I'll cover some of it, like how do you want to structure it. But my my assessment is at least give it 1 year. Give it 1 year of good sound study and consistent practice. If you practice it every day, even if it means like 2 minutes every single day, I assure you, you will see dramatic difference by the end of the year. So I don't know if it completely answers your question, but in short, at least give yourself 1 good year. And it's not like you're completely just doing that. It's just like even there's a little concept that you've learned one day, you are applying it every single day. Okay, and that automatically will help you. Yeah. Any other question? Awesome. So I'll get going. So let's start with that. So the first thing I want to show you is, and folks who are watching live on Facebook, you have to do it yourself because I'm doing screen share on the WhatsApp, on the Zoom. So what I want you to do is go through this tiny.cc/, I think maybe you should be able to see it as well, but in case you're not, try to go to this page. and I'm gonna make sure I walk everyone through this page as well. So I'm gonna share my screen. So once you go through this page, this is what you will see, a tiny.cc/Hindi University. And I want to make sure all of you right now try this with me, so that way, if there are any issues, you can share that with me. Okay. You will notice that there are different tabs, on this page. I'll go through each of them one by one. Okay. So the first thing you will notice here is that there is a link to the book that we have. We'll talk about that. The first thing is, how do you join the Sunday classes? So if you're curious about how do you join the Sunday classes, we use Zoom as well as Facebook Live to broadcast the class. Okay, and the classes are completely free. They will be completely free. So there is no cost associated with that. So if somebody is trying to reach out to you asking for something, don't get into that. So this is the link that you use to join the Sunday classes. Okay, Zoom link. And this is the link if you don't feel comfortable joining the interactive classes, if you want to just watch the broadcast, you can use this one. We mentioned about the books. Last year we used the Rupert Snell book. This year we'll be using Usha Jain's Advanced Hindi Grammar book along with Pingu Learns Hindi. Some of you may not have the copy of the books. The good news is that you can get the soft copy of Usha Jain's Advanced Hindi Grammar book here, and that way, at least as we are going through the classes, you can follow along. Okay. The other one is the Pingu Learns Hindi. I don't have the soft copy of it, but because most of you already have this book, in case if you don't have it, you let me know. And if you are not able to get it from Amazon, you let me know, and we'll figure out a way to get you the soft copy of the book as well. Okay. So those are the two books that we'll be covering. Okay. Teach Yourself is Advanced Hindi Grammar along with the Pingu Learns Hindi. So we'll have a blended approach. For the complete beginners, we'll start with the Pingu Learns Hindi. For folks who are already at the intermediate or advanced level, we'll start with the Usha Jain's book. These are the question is it's very hard to commit for the Sunday classes because the classes are 1 hour long. A lot of you have other commitment for good reason. So what do you do if you miss the classes? Don't feel any kind of pressure, and that's what I tell everyone. Even if you miss 3-4 classes, don't have any kind of anxiety. You can always join, even if you miss some of the previous classes. That's the whole point, to not have any kind of prior this thing that I have to attend all the classes. There's nothing like that, right? And even if you miss it, I'll try to make sure that we cover some of the basics from the previous classes as well. Okay, and you have all your friends as well to help you clarify some of those concepts. The other thing is the time zone. We do it at 8 a.m. US Pacific time, and if you are still not sure about what your local time will be, I think the easiest way would be, there are a lot of apps that can help you, keep the time in your local location. But if that's not helping you, you let me know. I'll add it, here as well, the local time that you will have it in your city. Okay. Any questions so far on this page? Anyone? You can unmute and ask. And don't feel there is going to be a basic question. This is the time to, because otherwise we focus on the Hindi learning, right? But this is the time to ask any kind of. Okay, awesome. I'll get going. The next thing is the Hindi practice session. As I said, along with the Sunday Hindi classes, some of our advanced students and enthusiastic learners, they have also been meeting pretty frequently on the practice sessions. And there's no requirement, even if you can join for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you can join it. And here's the link. If things change here on the practice sessions, like the Zoom link or the passcode, I will update it here. But for the most part, we try to keep it consistent. And if anything changes, the information is available on the WhatsApp group as well. The next thing is, like, some of you may not be on the WhatsApp group. Okay. So if you're interested, I'll be posting 2 WhatsApp group here. I mean, Kelly ji, while I'm speaking, you can post the practice group that we have, which is this one, and I'll post the Hindi University WhatsApp group. And this is your opportunity to because I don't feel like sending weekly emails, and I only do it once in 3-4 months at max. So I want to limit the spam, and I want to send it to only folks who are really willing to get it, right? I mean, so I'm going to quickly post the WhatsApp group in the Zoom chat, so that way those of you who may not have this information can get it, right, in the WhatsApp group. It's a private group only, so it's the requirement is that if you join a couple of classes, at least we are familiar with who you are. So there is like that trust is there, right? So please don't share it with folks who are completely new and may not be interested in long term. And I'm gonna share the other. So if you go to Zoom chat, you will see 2 links, one for the practice group and one for the Hindi University one. Okay. And that way at least you will have access to the WhatsApp group. I'm gonna share again my screen, and I'm gonna walk you through the next step on that. Yeah. Is there a question? All right. So if there's no question, I'm gonna quickly get going. So we spoke about the first one, which is the details to join the Sunday classes. We spoke about details to join the practice sessions. The next thing is the library. Oftentimes, one of the questions I hear is like, there are so many videos, and you can easily get lost about how to get started. So we've structured all the courses at different levels. So if you go to the spreadsheet, here is pretty much you've compiled all the previous videos at different levels, at the beginner, intermediate, and advanced level. So you can filter it. If you're interested in only joining or watching some of the beginner level classes, you can filter it down and you will only get those videos. Okay. And even in the beginners video, if you want to, let's say, just brush up the concept of I want to just learn how to introduce myself pretty effectively, so I can just watch introduction and getting started with Hindi, and you will get only those videos. And it's also a pretty good tool, so that way you don't have to spend time on just searching on YouTube, right? You can just get here, try to do some filters, and you'll get a brief description about the class. And if you have only 10 minutes or 5 minutes, you can watch the shorter videos. If you have half an hour, you can watch the longer videos. But that's also a very useful resource. And as we do more classes, they will immediately get added into this library. Okay. The next thing is the Teach Yourself Hindi book. While we'll be covering this year, Pingu Learns Hindi, as well as the the Usha Jain's book. In case if any of you are interested in still doing it on your own pace, Teach Yourself Hindi, this is, you can catch up with all the, previous videos that we have here. Okay. Then there are some useful links that we have. How do you want to sign up for the mailing list? If you want to test your current skills, you don't know where you are at the beginner or advanced level, you can do this small certification, that we have. These are self-paced exams. You can do it multiple times if you would like, but these are just way for you to assess yourself and at how you are doing, and so there are 2 different exams that I have here. One is the 101 level, the second one is the intermediate level. I think I already spoke about the WhatsApp group. Yeah, so the next question is when we covered the Rupert, there's, I think, 1 minute. The next question is when I covered the Rupert Snell's book, most of the time I use the you know the text that is being used is the Romanagri text, right? I mean, which is basically I don't write Devanagari. It's easier because there are people at different levels. Like some of them, they are pretty good with Devanagari. Some of them are not. So to find the balance, I use Romanagari, right? So in case if you are interested in that, you can find because Rupert Snell's some of the text is completely in Devanagari. And you may find it difficult, so you can click on this one, and for each of these paragraphs they are written in the Romanagari, which is basically written in English. Okay. So that's about it on the Hindi University page. Any questions from anyone?
Quick question.
Yeah.
There's Ashu, the common belief is that when we start learning Hindi, our friends suggest, hey, probably watch some Hindi movies. Is that also like a good suggestion, as we go in this journey?
One more time, please, Vignesh. I couldn't.
Does watching Hindi movie help learn Hindi too?
It does. It does help you in terms of the listening skills. It will help even more if you don't use the subtitles. My take is if you watch subtitles, you just end up reading the subtitles. Okay. So it definitely helps. I would say even if you watch the older movies, it would help even more. So yeah, it's a good idea,
Okay.
yeah. Any other reflections from anyone else?
Ashu Ji,
Yeah.
Namaste, it's Agnes.
Yeah.
So you Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too.
So yeah, so we are supposed to buy the new book because I understand that we're going to use Pingula and Cindy, but also we're going to use the second one. That's what you said. Okay.
Usha Jain.
So
Yeah, so 2 books.
Okay.
How do I do it? I have to find in the same class, we'll start with some of the basic concepts, and either I'll do a breakout room for all the beginner levels so they can work with some of the advanced students on just practicing those concepts. So my goal is like the first 10 to 15 minutes I'll spend on just the basic foundations. Because that can easily be done if it will brush up the concept of even the intermediate and advanced level students. At the same time, like, some of you who've been joining for a long time, it won't be fair for you to just do the basic stuff, right? You want to be challenged, right? So that's why I want to have a blended approach where, the first 10-15 minutes is the basics, brush up, and then you switch to the advanced grammar.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's always good to review the basics.
Yeah. I mean, basics are
It's
always
always
useful,
good to
right?
review
I
the
mean, yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this? Anyone?
Hi, it's Angela. I just wanted to ask, do you go through the alphabet and the pronunciation of the alphabet?
I will go through that.
Okay.
I have to figure out a way, like whether I want to completely start with that. So think about it this way: when a child is learning a language, like they learn to speak first, right? So it will not happen in the initial classes, but eventually I'll start with that as well, where we will be spending time on the Devanagari script and how do you kind of like read as well as like the pronunciation part.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Good question. Anyone else? A lot of folks who've been connected with the Hindi University for a while. Any reflection from you? What has worked in the past that you want to continue? What do you think we should change from before? That you think we tried, but it wasn't so useful.
It's Agnes again.
Yeah.
I know that a long time ago we did translations on text, and I think it was very challenging, but it was very useful, I think.
Okay. So you think we should continue the
Maybe
translation?
sometimes we can focus on one kind of sentences, grammatical things, and maybe try to read because we had to read and then translate them.
Yeah.
And I think it was very interesting because it's not something we do.
Yeah. So what Anya ji is saying is like, in the previous classes, before we were covering Teach Yourself Hindi book, based on the topic, I would just come up with a long Hindi paragraph. It could be a conversation between like one person and a shopkeeper, back and forth conversation completely in Hindi, and students were forced to read it and try to make sense of it. And she's saying that we should like perhaps reconsider a time when we can at least give those kind of challenges. So we'll definitely do that, honestly.
I think it was very, very useful, and we were trying to do our best. So I think it was nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Even if we did lots of mistakes, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that is the part. Like, so you should never feel afraid of making mistakes. Like, otherwise you'll not learn, right? I mean, so Simona ji, go for it.
Hello. Ashu, I only joined for the past year, and I think it's absolutely amazing. We just need to also practice on our own. But something which I would like to do, and I know you didn't previously, maybe there is in some videos that you have on YouTube, learn Hindi through short stories, and there are some very nice stories. So if we can have some classes like this,
Okay, so you were saying Hindi short stories, definitely a good idea.
Yeah, but you have done in some videos.
Yes.
I really like them.
Yes.
And I think it's good. Or you had something like how to compose a little poem, in Hindi, this kind of things.
Rhyming things. Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Great idea. Awesome. Anyone else?
You hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Inga, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm a complete beginner and I've only learned a few letters so far in Hindi. Is there anybody like me? I have the feeling everybody speaks already a little bit of Hindi. I don't. I'm a total beginner.
Okay, so the question is, Inga is completely beginner. Where are you from, Inga?
Germany.
Germany.
Sir.
Sehur. Awesome, Germany. See, you know it, right? So why are you...
That's the only thing I can...
No, that's...
Is there anybody else who is a total beginner?
I'm 100% positive there are many folks who are completely beginner, even if they don't say it right now, but let me give the opportunities. Her question is, are there more folks who are completely beginner or who feel that they are beginner?
I did last year, Ashu Ji, but I feel like I'm starting back at the beginning.
Okay, and that's Somer. Yep, awesome. Anyone else who feel that they're completely beginner and they want to start from scratch completely?
Beginners.
Who is that? Heidi? Heidi, okay. So you have Heidi, you have Somer. Anyone else? Okay. I'm pretty sure, some people may not say it, but, Rene, is that you?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
I am a beginner as well.
Okay. So we have Rene. She's completely beginner. Okay. Stephen.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I'm a false beginner. I've begun so many times I've forgotten.
Okay. And where are you joining from, Stephen?
Scotland.
Scotland. Okay. Awesome. So Inga, you have like a good group of folks who are beginner as well, right? So you should not feel that, you are all...
I'm not alone then.
Yeah, you're not alone. Right? Awesome. So great question. Anyone else? This is your chance to go ahead. I think Ravi, you are trying to...
This is Ravi from India.
Okay, go for it.
I'm also a complete beginner.
Okay, Ravi is
from
complete.
South India.
Okay, awesome.
I'm interested in learning this language.
Awesome. So Ravi is beginner as well, right? So Inga, that should give you some motivation there, right? I mean, okay, awesome. Any other questions or suggestions before I get going. Like some things, and this is really the question for people who've been joining for a while. What do you think, worked in, prior years that we should continue? And also at the same time, something that you think that, we tried, but, it wasn't so useful. So maybe we should, optimize our time and replace that with something else. I'm open to that as well. Thoughts on Anna ji, or anyone, Kelly ji, Kinga, Vatsala ji, you've been joining for a while. Things that you think was useful or not useful that we should continue or discontinue.
Ashu Ji, I think I found it extremely useful. The grammar is something that I'm very weak in, so it's helped me. I do like the idea of reading stories and making up stories. I think conversation is really hard for me, and I'm also very self-conscious. So I think being able to talk more and in more grammatical ways is something that I'm looking forward to.
Okay, how do you start small conversations, basically, as well as opportunities where you have time to read the short stories? Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Ashu Ji, one thing that I know when we blew through Snell, I think it was at about chapter 11 that I just went off the rails. And I mean, I was listening to the classes, but I wasn't, I got some of the things. So I'm just trying to think of a way that when we finish something, there's a way that we can know kind of, not a test, but something that helps us do a self-assessment of where we are and what I need to do. Like I was thinking about this with, the skeleton grammar from Snell or something, or we could just, in a practice group, we can do this too. We can we can say things to each other and then just to wrap up something,
Okay. How frequent? No, that's a great idea. How frequently do you think we should do it? Should we do it every 2 months? Like after finishing 7 classes, we just set aside 1 class just so that, internally I can come up with a lot of questions of the previous 7 classes? Or should we do it, more frequently, less frequently?
I don't know. I would think it's like when you're wrapping up some type of a grammatical unit, right?
I see.
Like if you did, for example, like the subjunctive or whatever it is, and then so that I can really, because I was just posting that thing about, I was trying to figure out how to say, while you're looking for that picture, I'll show mine. And there's several different ways of using while, and I wasn't clear even where it was in the chapter. So just something to kind of lock it in. So that before I go to the next thing, I feel like I have the thing we just did.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. I mean, it's making me think as well. So maybe as we complete one particular unit, I can come up with a set of questions for everyone. That way we can maybe consciously do it so we don't kind of like lose track of it. So that's a good suggestion as well. Sharon Ji is saying that Usha Jan is a little advanced. How do we kind of deal with that? So I mean, it's an absolutely a spot on observation there. We'll try to break it down. For example, she starts with Dena as the first topic, right? So we'll try to do just like the most commonly used phrases for Dena, like khane do, peene do. So for folks who are completely new, you don't have to know details about the transitive versus intransitive verb. Right now, you just have to get used to the most common 4 or 5 phrases of that topic. Okay, and for folks who are intermediate, I think some knowledge of different kind of verb doesn't hurt. So the observation is spot on, Sharon Ji. I'll try to simplify it as much as I can, so that way you can absorb it. And the reason we chose the book is also that so that at least you feel that you conquered something much more than Rupert Snell's book, right? I mean, if you were to pick up an easy thing, it won't be, so you will not feel that satisfaction. So the goal is also for me to simplify it this year, Usha Jain's book, and for you to kind of like feel that you finished that whole book, which is a complex book. Okay, any other thoughts there? That was yeah.
Ashu Ji, another idea maybe, would it be possible to have sometimes one lesson about vocabulary on themes, for example, I don't know, the kitchen, the bedroom, the dining room, with all the objects, maybe the food and the specific items we find in India?
Okay. So basically, most commonly use vocabulary based on different themes. Yeah.
Just to enrich our vocabulary on specific theme that could be useful on daily life.
Yep. I'll definitely make a note of that as well, so that way we can cover that. All right.
Well,
Yeah.
There's one thing that's a fun thing that we just started doing in the practice group is to just show a picture and then tell a little story about the picture using whatever grammar like that we're currently learning.
Awesome.
And that's just been fun.
Okay, awesome. That's a great one. Right. So these are the we started with the Hindi University resources. Basically, we covered that. We spent time getting feedback and ideas from you. I want to spend some time on how do you set up goals for this year. 3 years ago, we did the class on having SMART goals. I think Anya, you probably remember it, right? I'm gonna do a quick recap of setting up SMART goal. It's a framework. Most of you probably have heard of it. Some of you have used it as well. It's going to be a repetition for some of you. So use it as an opportunity to think about your SMART goals for learning Hindi for this year. Okay. So you probably are familiar with this framework where you kind of each of this letter refers to something. Okay. Whatever I'm saying, try to think of in terms of the goals for Hindi learning. Okay, you can use this framework for other career related goals as well, but right now our goal is basically for Hindi. Okay, so S basically here refers for specific. Is your goal specific or not? Okay, for the SMART method. M is it measurable or not? Whatever you're making, it has to be a measurable. Okay. To give an example, if your goal is specific, let's say, let's say you want to make a goal that I want to stay fit. But is it really specific? Can we make it more specific? Okay. Again, I'm using a different example rather than Hindi learning because I want you to come up with that. One of it could be I want to lose weight. Maybe that would be a bit more clear that you want to stay fit by losing weight or by running a marathon, right? But try to test it with this next one. Is it measurable? It's not. Just because you're saying I want to lose weight, it doesn't really define how much, right? So let's say you want to say I want to lose, let's say 10 pounds. Okay, then it makes it a slightly more specific than the goal that you're trying to make. So something like this, if your goal was I want to learn a language, it's not really a specific goal. Okay, the specific would be I want to learn a particular language so that I can do A, B, and C. Okay, measurable, as I said, you have to define what is the criteria that you want to evaluate yourself against by the end of the year or by the end of whatever time you want to give yourself for that particular process, right? Achievable. Okay, which is basically, is it really achievable? I can make a random goal of climbing the Mount Everest in a month, but that's not really that realistic, because without putting the process, it may not be achievable. right? So is it really achievable or not? A stands for that, okay? R is basically, it's where you are putting, is it realistic? Or there you put really your value system behind that. Why are you really achieving, or you want to do that goal, okay? So S is specific, M is measurable, A is attainable or achievable, R is it realistic, and T is time bounded, which is like how much time are you willing to give for this goal. You can have like 6 months or 1 year or whatever time you want to give yourself for that, okay? So I want to take a pause here. I know I just simply went through the high level definition of each of these items, but given this in mind, let's say if I ask you to make a goal for yourself for learning Hindi, try to see, you can type it in the Zoom chat and see, we can test each of these parameters in the goal. Okay, I'm not going to take anyone's name. I'm going to just read the goal and I'm going to add anything that I think, can be improved in that. So that way, at least, you have it in front of you. Okay. So take this time to at least write down a simple goal that you have. Okay. That you want to accomplish, this year. Okay. So take your time, try to write down your Hindi learning, goal. Think about why you want to learn Hindi. Okay, so I think I'm going to just read out one of the goals. I'm going to keep this one. The goal is join one practice group to gain more confidence to speak. Okay. That's a good one. I want to be able to speak Hindi fluently with good grammar within 12 months. Okay. I want to learn Hindi grammar and be able to read a Hindi novel and watch Hindi movies. Okay. I want to learn 20 new vocabulary words every week. That's this goal is very specific. Okay. It is measurable. Okay. One thing I want to see in each of these goals, why? And some of you have mentioned that I want to increase my confidence. Maybe that's your value system. You want to feel confident. Okay, that's a great feeling to have, and that's maybe your motivation of learning a new skill, because it will make me more confident. Okay, so think about why you want to what is the driver behind it. For some of the people, the factor maybe they want to feel healthy, that's why they want to lose weight. Okay, so what is the motivation? Is it really to travel, to expand your knowledge, or to be able to, like some of you have said, like, I want to have deeper connection with my family member. That's the motivation, right? So the more clarity you have on that, the more effort you will subconsciously and consciously will put toward this process. To be able to speak conversational Hindi by the end of the year by attending weekly classes. Okay. So you have made it clear that you want to be able to have a conversational Hindi. Can you add just more, how do I measure it? Like, can you say that I want to be able to have at least 5 minutes of conversational Hindi without, thinking in my head and not be able to speak? So you can add some, this factor there. I want to be able to have, just like in addition to what you said, to be able to have conversational Hindi, at least 5 minutes of conversational Hindi. Okay. It'll make it a little bit more, measurable, because you want to make sure that you can measure it, and even if it is not 5 minutes, if you feel like, okay, at least I did 3-4 minutes of, so be it. At least you set up a good goal there. I will keep studying 2 hours per week at least. Want to watch movies without subtitle. try to but why? What's motivation again? Like, is the motivation really that you want to be able to watch movies because you enjoy the cultural aspect of it? Like, try to question yourself. Why am I doing that? Is it really that like I'm fascinated by the movies and the culture, or I mean, and it could very well be the reason, and that will be the driver for you, right? Next one is I want to do at least 1.5 hours of Hindi practice a day this year. To do what? Try to question yourself again there. Like, how will that help you? I mean, language learning, again, like, if I want to learn, let's say French, and, maybe my goal is like, I want to go to France and, meet with Anya Ji, because she's been a dear friend, and, to be able to talk to her and understand some of, the French history. Okay, I'm just making it up, but I want to give you some more thoughts of how you can, like, crystallize your goal a bit more. One is I would like to have a conversational in Hindi with the people while I'm in India, okay? So that you can have a deeper connection with the folks you're talking to, okay? Louis saying, I want to be able to sing a Hindi song. That's a pretty specific goal, okay? It's a measurable one, that you want to sing a Hindi song. For that you want to learn it, okay? And you can measure it because, like, if by the only thing is, I'm not sure how long I should put. Okay, you can just give yourself a time there. Like, let's say the song is it has like 3 paragraphs, and again, I'm just trying to help you, okay? And if you want to just learn 1 paragraph per month, okay, there you go. You have 3 months to give yourself to learn the song and be able to sing it. I want to be able to speak Hindi fluently within 6 months. I would just say, try to figure out the driver behind it, Ravi. Like, why? Okay, I want to be able to speak Hindi because a lot of my friends are Hindi speaking. I want to speak with them. That's a good one, because the driver is you want to have a deeper connection with them. And language is one of the great way of establishing that connection. Okay, I want to learn 10 vocabulary and try to make as many sentences of those possible. Okay, my goal is to improve my grammatical skills and learn to read and write so I can truly connect with my Indian friends and family, as some of them don't speak English. That's a pretty good one, actually. I want to practice my brains and eventually travel and speak with my friends in India. This year I'll focus on speaking everyday conversational Hindi, learn 5 words a day, join 1 to 2 practice sessions a week, spend 15 minutes a day learning Hindi. I have a lot of Indian friends and want to be able to converse with them. Okay, good one. So you get the idea. Like, I mean, I want to, and then this one, I want to be CEFL level 2 proficient in 2 years or less for my job and myself. See, that is a very specific one. That is a very measurable one. And the driver is pretty clear. That is a requirement for the job, that you have to have certain kind of certification, right? So there it is in front of you. Okay, that may not be a driver for everyone, because most of you want to do it for fun. You want to feel confident. You want to have a social element as well, right? But some of you want to do it for professional reasons, right? One is saying, I want to improve in all aspects of Hindi, so hopefully I can teach my kids decent Hindi. Okay, that's a good one. That's a good motivation. I want to watch some Hindi content every day. I want to be able to read the book in Hindi and make a video in Hindi. That is a measurable goal as well, that you want to be able to read a Hindi book. Okay, you may not have defined it yet, but you know that you want to read a Hindi book, and if you give yourself some time bound, like within 1 year, I want to be able to read a Hindi book, right? You are then forced to find out which book. Okay. hopefully hopefully that I, by checking your goals and by reading it out loud, I gave you some more thoughts on how you can make it specific if the goal was not specific, measurable if it was not measurable, okay, achievable, okay, and realistic and time bound, okay. So whether it is Hindi learning or anywhere else, you can apply this framework, okay. Any questions so far? We'll do rest of the year just doing the Hindi learning, so this is your time to ask any of the high level questions, the process related questions, the common challenges that you face while learning Hindi, or even if you're afraid of committing yourself to a goal, you can discuss that as well. I mean, all of us are, right? I mean, we feel that we don't want to commit and not do it, right? So there's a genuine fear. Question, thoughts, new folks? If I were to put you on spot, Hasita ji, you want to share your thoughts? If you need more time, that's completely okay. But if you feel comfortable, feel free to unmute.
Quick question or quick suggestion, Ashu. One thing we do in my company, when I work from home remote, is like, you can't really appreciate people in person, right? So you give some awards in, all these, Slack channel or whatever. So maybe whoever is performing well, if you appreciate them or give them a mention, especially for beginners, that will be a little bit of a motivation.
Yep. Surely, that's a good one. Like appreciate and motivate the students in pretty much, as they're making progress. I absolutely 100% agree with that. Okay. Okay, I'll try to give one more example. So after the goal part, and this is just to make a point that it's a language learning, it's a process, like, so if you are getting distracted by some these, instant gratification related, like, titles, don't do that, right? I mean, it's a compounding effect. Every day counts. Every day, even if I'm saying namaste every single day, or even if I'm saying aap kaise ho every single day, and trying it out with different people, it makes a big difference. Okay, imagine like if I'm learning how are you in French, okay, if I keep saying it every single day, I will improve my accent in French, I'll be able to say it in different way. Like kaise ho can be said in Hindi in many different tones, okay? I will develop that as well. So it's a compounding effect. It's not about learning hundreds and thousands of grammar rules. It's not about that. So even if you know certain things, but if you can repeat it, it has magical effect, okay? Some of you probably have heard of this book called Compounding Effect. If not, it's a pretty good read. I would definitely say try to, and the author makes a pretty strong case about how doing things consistently helps. It has magical effect over time. Okay, we live in a world where we are completely like, surrounded by, new shiny, right? And we want to jump from one thing to, I do that too, right? But to follow something systematically over the period of time, it has magical effects. So he gives many examples. One of them, it's interesting one, which is like you have two options. First option is that you have been given $1 million on day one. Okay. In option 2, you have a system where you get 1 penny on day 1, but the day 2 is this penny will double. It will become 2 pennies. And in day 3, it will become double. It will become 4 pennies. So your penny, it doubles every single day till 30 days. Okay. And then he asked this question, which option will you choose? Okay. Our mind is pretty wired in such a way, most of us will go for option number 1, like, because what is the value of a penny, right? even if it is doubling every day. But believe it or not, if you do the calculation, by the end of 30 days, it will become more than $5.5 million. Okay, that's the compounding effect. Okay, that's the thing that we have to do. Contextualize it in our case. Language learning may be boring process. Okay, you have to find it, make it exciting. Even if you have a small Hindi journal for yourself, a book that you want to keep it for yourself, where you write your notes. Even if you learn, think about it, replace this penny with one sentence. Okay, if you learn one phrase, one sentence, or vocabulary word, as some of you mentioned, it has a compounding effect. Every day you are trying to learn something new and adding on top of it. Okay, this one penny example that you have, till the 15 till 20 days, you don't really feel anything, because it's just 1 penny, 2 pennies, 4, 8, 16 pennies, a 32 penny, 64 penny. Till 10 days is nothing. Even till 20 days is nothing. But then between 25 to 30, it just grows exponentially. Right? So it's, try to take it slow. Try to take it, don't try to, be too hard on yourself, right, in this process. So let me see if there are any questions. I'll take a pause here. I know I spoke a lot, and some of you, it may feel like it was a lot of theoretical talk in this class, but it was designed to do so, because from next class onwards, we'll just jump to the conversational and in the book that we are choosing. So I wanted to make sure that I get to hear from you what you would like to see yourself in this process. So I'm going to take a quick pause here to see if you want to have